Oh goodness, the struggle is real. Not making this up, guys. Just sharing to be transparent. Also to see if you'll commiserate with me. Hey there, Trace here from Pieces Calligraphy. Welcome back to another day in my YouTober challenge where I am posting a new video to my channel every single day for the whole month of October. Now, as I mentioned in day 14, or the first day in this mini challenge, I'll leave a link down below. The reason why I'm introducing the alphabet to you in this way is because it makes for practicing so much more easier and more efficient. By grouping the letters into similar strokes, we can then practice that muscle memory doing drills and then transfer that over into the letters that we're creating. So let's get started. Today we are going over the oval. Now, as excited as I am to jump into the oval and write these letters, I'm sure some of you out there are cringing. The oval can be a pretty tricky stroke, so I'm hoping to really break it down into little pieces that you can then practice on your own and get those smoother strokes that I'm sure you are aiming for. Okay, so I have my setup going. I have some marker paper, which is this transparent paper on top of some guide sheets that I printed out, and I secured that with some washi tape, not washing tape. And this is just a coloring brush pen that I'm using. It's a large tip, and I'll leave links to all of these down below. So let's get started by practicing some ovals. The oval is simply an O-shaped stroke. You want to make sure that the thick of the shade is on our slant line here. I have a 55-degree slant line. You can use whichever slant line you'd like. And the thing about the oval is that you want to start on either a little bit below the waistline or at the waistline and go in a counterclockwise direction. It's a little counterintuitive because if you're like me, you're probably used to creating them the other way, clockwise, but counterclockwise, it just helps with the smoothness of our strokes, and we actually want the shade on the left, and so in order to get that shade, we have to go downward, and so that's where this counterclockwise movement happens. Okay, so I'll go ahead and demonstrate a few for you. I start at a hairline, I curve to the left, and after I hit the waistline, then I apply pressure, and then before I hit the baseline, I release that pressure so that I'm back to that hairline stroke. And I'm going really slow. I'm just watching how my pen bends as I put pressure, and then it comes back to a point. Now, like I mentioned, you can also start at the waistline itself, and you're just going to immediately go into pressure and then finish with a hairline. What's nice about doing this is you can actually stop at the baseline, and it's a nice check to make sure that your shade is completely on the left side of where your slant line would fall. And then as you finish the rest of the stroke, it's basically on the other side of that slant line. So you can imagine the slant line being right here, down the middle. And then I have my shade on the left and I have my hairline on the right. You can do it all in one motion like this, or you can break it up at the bottom, at the baseline. We have quite a few letters here, so let's get right into it. For starters, we have the letter O, of course, entrance stroke, and I'm going to stop my entrance stroke before I get to the waistline because I want to make space. I want to not go beyond this shade here. Okay, and the oval ends with a comma dot, or you can have a little loop here. And then we have our letter A, and I'm just building on with more strokes. So this is what you would see with the oval, but instead of a comma dot, I'm going to put an underturn. Then we have the letter D, which is basically the same strokes as the letter A, except the stem on the letter D is extended beyond the waistline. So we call this an ascender. And I'll go over ascenders more in a future video. Whoa. Next, I'm going to do the Q because you can end that here with just a full pressure stroke along the slant line. And there are variations to these letters. These are just a simple, basic alphabet. Then let's go ahead and continue going below the baseline, and let's do a letter G, oval, and then this is a descending stem loop, which I will go over in a future video. Now let's do some letters that have a reverse oval. So the reverse oval, you can imagine, is just the oval in reverse, but I'm going to start out a little bit down below the waistline here, come out with a thick downstroke, and then finish the stroke on the left. So now we have the opposite, sort of going in the direction that you might be more used to in making letter O's. Okay, and then the letters that have that are a modern style letter B. I'm going to come down here. Okay, I'm going to come down here for the letter B. I'm actually just trying to conserve paper, so sorry, the strokes are kind of funny. Actually, sorry, I was about to go. Okay, actually, I'll just go with this. So traditionally, I would make my letter B like this, where the ascending stem loop turns into an underturn, and then I finish out with a comma dot or a loop. But the reverse oval would happen in a more modern version of the letter B. So I had my entrance stroke, I do my ascending stem loop, and then I come out here to make that reverse oval, and then I come out. And then the letter P also has this reverse oval. If I come out here with an entrance stroke, full pressure stroke, it's kind of a funky version. You don't have to make your stroke this high, and then reverse oval. Lastly, let's go over some other rounded strokes that are based on the oval, even though they don't have the oval in them. So the first one is the letter C. Entrance stroke. So this would normally be the oval, but from the baseline, I'm just going to finish up a little bit outward and end at the waistline and getting ready for that next stroke. And depending on your style, you can either come back around and do a filled in dot for your C, or if you'd like, this is one that I do pretty often. I just put a tick mark where I start with heavy pressure and then I sort of taper off into light pressure, and it just adds a little bit of depth and kind of completes the stroke so it's not so bare. Then I have the letter E, entrance stroke, and then I literally just write the letter E, putting my thick shade where it should be on that downstroke. Or if you'd like, you can make your E in two parts where you start at the waistline, you put that pressure, but then you're just making the first stroke from the waistline down to the baseline, and then you come up to finish that stroke. It's almost like a C, but instead of finishing it like a C, you're going to pull down this stroke here. You can add a little bit of weight if you'd like, but just be sure that when you go back to this thick stroke, it's back to hairline. So that was the next group of letters in this mini series on practicing the alphabet. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it really helpful on how to practice the oval and knowing how to recognize it in those letters that I presented to you. Remember, by grouping the letters this way, you can really isolate your practice and hone in on those muscles that we're trying to build and really develop. So remember, if you're ever having trouble with a certain letter or a certain part of a letter, always break it down. Try to break it down into smaller parts that you can then practice in a drill. And just a quick reminder, drills are just repetitive strokes or movements that you then practice and focus on, nothing else. And you just really hone in on that specific skill, and then you bring that back into the context in which you were practicing. So for example, if you're having trouble with the letter A and all of its strokes, break it down into the entrance stroke, the oval, and the underturn. Practice these strokes individually, then bring it all back together slowly, and then build your letters from there. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you in a comment down below if this was helpful for you. What other questions do you have? Are you enjoying this YouTober series? I am definitely having a lot of fun. As much work as it is, it's really worth it to just bring you as much value as I can, even though these videos are just short and sweet. It's just been really a different take on my teaching methods that I've had in a while. And be sure to hit subscribe and hit that little bell so you'll get notifications when new videos come out. You can be sure that I'll be posting a new video every day for the month of October. So I want to thank you again, and I will see you tomorrow for day 17. Bye. So that was the oval and the letters. Now, and hey there. Oh, blinked out.